Hello, welcome to my channel. So today I'm gonna be talking about the thoracic cage. So first of all, you gotta know that the thoracic wall is a very important structure because it basically protects very important organs in the thorax. So we have the heart, we have the two lungs, we have so many arteries like the aorta, we have the so many important veins and nerves, etc. So we have so many parts that need to be protected, and this is why we have this thoracic wall. So the thoracic wall is mainly composed of two parts. So we have the skeleton part, and then we have the muscle part. So in this video, I'm going to be focusing on the skeleton part, and more importantly on one bone of the skeleton part, which is the sternum. Alright, so this skeleton part is called the thoracic cage because, as you can see, it resembles a cage. Alright, so this cage is part of the axial skeleton. So the axial skeleton is basically the skull. It is not represented in here, but the skull is part of the axial skeleton. And then we have the spine with the vertebrae. And then we have the thoracic cage here. And well, the hip bones are not a part of it, part of the axial skeleton, so I'm gonna hide them. And so we have the spine, the thoracic cage, the skull, and we also have a little bone that is not represented in here, which is the hyoid bone. It's a very small bone. So this is the axial skeleton. And now for the thoracic cage. So I'm gonna hide the clavicle, and I'm gonna hide the scapula. Okay. So here we have the cage. So all of these vertebrae are not a part of it. So it's only I'm gonna go just element by element. So here we have the sternum. So this is the first one. And then we have the 12 ribs with the costal cartilages. And then we have the 12 thoracic vertebrae. So we have from T1 till T12. So yeah. So today I'm going to be focusing on the sternum. So first of all, you got to know that we have two apertures in the thoracic cage. All right. So apertures is it's basically a hole, So I have the little hole, which is the superior thoracic aperture. We can also call it the inlet, the thoracic inlet. Even though, when you hear inlet, you might think, well, there are elements coming from the neck going inside of the thorax. But it's not only elements going in the thorax. There are certain elements that go out of the thorax, such as veins and, certain nerves. So, it's not a very exact name, but they call it the inlet. And then we have the big hole, which is the inferior thoracic aperture, which is called the outlet. So for the small aperture, well, I'm gonna go over the borders of this aperture. So here on the front we have the sternum, and then we have the first rib with the first costal cartilage, and then we have the first this is not sorry for this on this picture here we have a cervical vertebrae, but I should have omitted it. But anyway, we have the first thoracic vertebrae, T1, which doesn't appear on this picture. So this is the inlet. All right, and then we have the outlet. So for the outlet, I'm gonna quickly so now we have the outlet. So here we again have the sternum we have the costal edge. So this is like a cartilage. So this is the costal edge, right? We're going to be talking about it in another video in detail where I'm going to discuss the ribs. But yeah. And then we have so this is like this. It goes like this. And then we have the edge, the interior edge of the 11th rib. And then we have the whole 12 rib. And then we have the T12. And so this is the outlet. So sternum, costal edge. I think it's called costal edge. And then we have the interior edge of the 11th rib. And then we have the 12th rib and T12. All right. So this is the outlet. And so the outlet so we have the diaphragm as a muscle that really covers this outlet. So yeah. Now we're going to be talking about the sternum, which is, the first bone that we have in here. So I'm going to isolate it. So here we have the sternum. So the sternum has two sides. So here we have the interior side, which is, as you can see in the lateral view, okay, in the lateral view, it's convex, all right? So the interior side is convex, and then we have the posterior side, which is, concave, all right? And then we have four edges. So we have the superior edge, okay, just 1 second. So here we have the superior edge, so it's all of this. And then we have the inferior edge, and then we have the two lateral edges, so two sides and four edges. Alright, so the manubrium, the sternum is composed of three parts. So it has the superior part, which is called the manubrium. Alright. So here it is, the manubrium, and then we have the body of the sternum. Alright, so here you go, the body of the sternum, and then you have the xiphoid process. So you have the xiphoid process, which is this really small part. Okay. Let's start with the sternum. So in the sternum, I'm gonna go pretty quick, but it has, so first of all, we have this notch, all right? So this is called the jugular notch, okay? So here you go, jugular notch. So this notch doesn't really articulate with anything. It's called the jugular notch. And then we have another notch here. So, So this one, this part, this is called the clavicular notch because it articulates with the clavicle. So I'm gonna show you. Here you go. So we have the articulation. So this is the clavicle, and this is the sternum, the manubrium, and here you go. They articulate in here. Okay. And then we have another notch, which is which we call the notch of the first. So this is called the first costal notch, and it's the notch for the first costal cartilage. So here it is, as you can see. So this is the first rib, and this here, the white part is the cartilage, and yeah, so the articulation between the two in here. So this is it's in the first costal notch. And then here we have a demi notch. So it's not a complete notch. So this is a complete notch. But as you can see, this notch is, the superior superior half of it is part of the manubrium, and then the inferior half of it is part of the body of the sternum. So on the manubrium, we have the demi-notch of the second rib. All right. So yeah, so this is basically what we have for the sternum. And then we have a very important part, which is the junction between the manubrium and the body of the sternum. So this, junction is called the sternal angle. All right. Gonna isolate it again. So here you go, sternal angle or angle of Louis. So this angle, why is it important? So first of all, this angle is palpable. You could actually feel it underneath your skin, and this angle is very important because later on, when we're gonna study a very important anatomical region, which is called the mediastinum. So we're gonna have to divide this region into two parts, superior and inferior, dependent on a plane that goes through this angle. All right. So yeah, this angle goes right. I don't know if you can see it, but it goes right. If you go horizontally, you will find that it goes between T4 and T5. The junction between T4 and T5 is it corresponds to the sternal angle. So just keep this information for later on. So this is all for the manubrium. Now we're gonna talk about the body of the sternum. So I'm gonna choose another color. All right. So now the body of the sternum. So the body of the sternum was pretty simple. Well, don't forget that there are certain muscles that, attach to the sternum in certain parts. I'm not going to mention them here because I'm going to be making another video about the muscles in the thoracic wall. So yeah, I'm not going to mention them, but yeah. So this is the body. So basically what we have as something interesting in the body is the notches right here. So here we have, first of all, we have a demi notch that we talked about earlier for the second rib. And then we have another notch for the third rib. And then another one for the fourth. And then fifth rib. And then sixth. And then we have another demi notch for the seventh rib. Okay, so I have demi notch for the second rib, a whole notch for the third, fourth, fifth, sixth ribs, and then a demi notch for the seventh rib. And here you go. So you have them, as you can see here. So here we don't really have a demi notch for the seventh rib right here at the very bottom, but there is an anatomical variation. So sometimes you can find a demi notch for the seventh rib on the body of the sternum. Sometimes there is a whole notch for the seventh rib on the body of the sternum. So it doesn't really matter that much, but it's just a little detail. And yeah, so this is all we have for the body. Now let's go to the xiphoid process. So the xiphoid process, I'm going to choose another color. Let's go with blue. So here is the xiphoid process. It's very small. There are many anatomical variations. It could have different shapes, and yeah, you can sometimes find the other demi notch for the seventh rib. So this is all that is important about this little thing here. And yeah, I think I went over everything about the sternum. So yeah, the sternum comes right before the heart, so it really protects the heart along with the costal cartilages. And it's a very cute little bone. And yeah, I guess that's it. So like I said, there are many muscles that attach to the sternum, but I'm gonna go over them in details in another video. Yeah, thank you for watching. Make sure to like this video if it was helpful, and and make sure to subscribe to get notified when I post other videos. And I'm gonna be talking about in next videos, I'm gonna be talking about the ribs and the thoracic vertebrae and a bunch of other things. Yeah, have a nice day.